Hello everybody and welcome back to another video. Today we are looking at rangefinders. I think we've all had enough of looking at SLRs for the moment, so thought we'd shake things up a little bit and go for a 35mm rangefinder. What a beautiful little camera this is as well. This is the Minolta HI-MATIC F from the HI-MATIC series, and this dates from 1972. But it's just, just look at it. It's a beautiful little camera. It's very lightweight. It only weighs about 350 grams. And, let me just put my glasses away. It's even got the original Minolta cap on it. This would be a great camera for somebody starting out, although don't buy it on eBay because they seem to be making a lot of money on eBay. Most of these little rangefinders are quite expensive now. As you can see here, it has quite a wide angle lens. It is a full frame camera, so it's the full 35mm, but it has a 38mm and it's a 2.7, which is slowish, but it's enough. But being 38mm, it's quite substantially wider than the normal 50mm lens. So I think for street photography and just for general sort of snapping, if you like, taking it on holidays or days out and vacations, and like I say, it's very, very light, and it fits very nicely in the hand, and it's a beautiful looking camera. There's no way that that is offensive or going to make people worried, compared to a big black DSLR. Anyway, electronics. So this camera is totally dependent upon batteries. And the batteries on this go in the bottom. You'll see down here there's this black slot, and you just lift that up. Now originally these ran on a battery that was mercury based, which you can't get anymore. Mercury batteries are banned. So what you need to do, I've tried this with Wien cells, which are the correct voltage, or with SR44s, and you put two of them in the one slot, and in the other slot you fill it with a piece of foil. I've seen one where they were using a chopped down pencil eraser, the rubber sort of blocks, and a paper clip that they'd opened up just to sort of connect the contacts together. So one side you'd leave empty and one side you'd put the two batteries in to give you the approximately 3 volts, 2.6 to 3 volts. The actual connections on this camera are on this side. This is where the two connections are. The one on this side is just a shorting out plate from one battery to the other. This one unfortunately doesn't work. This one's going to need some work doing to it. If you can find them in thrift shops or charity shops, that was probably the place to get them from. We do have a tripod mount, although it is slightly offset. But yeah, beautiful metal body on the bottom, metal on the top. The interior is actually plastic. I have had this one apart. I have sort of had a look and see how it comes apart, and it's fairly straightforward, but the interior part of the camera is actually mainly plastic. That's what's making it so lightweight, but it is very good quality. You think this is from 72. I'm presuming it's got some sort of electrical issue on it. On the back, very simple, there's a battery test function here, so when it works you'd push this in and this little light up here would illuminate to tell you that the battery is in good condition. Other than that, we have a PC connection here. Interestingly, it also has a hot shoe as well. This is the rewind crank on the top. This does pull up, and this is how you open the back, is by pulling up on it in the normal way. Let's finish off on the top plate first. So yes, we've got a hot shoe. This is the shutter release button. Film advance, very nice, and a self-resetting frame counter. Even though there's no batteries in it, it sounds as though the shutter's working, but it isn't, because there's no battery in the thing. Internally, we have a pressure plate, the usual thing to hold the film cassette in. We have a multi-slotted take-up spool, the sprocket drive. Here you can see the back of it. It's a leaf-shuttered camera. Shutter speeds range from 4 seconds through to let me get this right, 747th of a second, which is a bit of a weird one, I do believe. You have no control over the shutter speed or the aperture. Well, that's not really true actually. You do have a bit of control over the aperture, but only in flash mode. If you look around the lens, on the back of the lens, if this will focus, you'll see a scale here for guide number. So if you know the guide number of your flash, this just sets the aperture based on the guide number. So if I was using something that had a guide number of 40, I would set it there. A guide number of 20, I'd set it there. Materials a bit things. So that's what this GN relates to, is guide number. So you can put the guide number into the camera and it just adjusts the aperture basically. This is your focusing, and although it might seem like a toy camera, it does actually have a proper functioning rangefinder. So you focus by lining the two images in the center. I don't know if you can see. Oh yes, you can. You can see in the middle there. There is the rangefinder dot, and that will give you the two images. And then as you focus, it will it'll come so that one lines up over the other, so you can get very accurate focusing. That's where the past sticker has probably been in the past. I think this is some kind of device to show you that the film's winding on. I'm going to load a film into it to show you how to load it. But a very simple camera. On a sunny day with a nice sort of film in there, you set the ASA on the front here. The ASA goes from 25 only up to 500, but that's enough for most films. If you're going to use SR44s, you need to adjust the aperture accordingly because the voltage is higher. I think probably about 3/4 to a stop difference will probably make up for the voltage difference there. Very sharp lenses, Rockall lenses, Minolta lenses are very high quality. I think go 25 through to 500. I don't know why I'm setting it on 200. Because it doesn't work. This is the photo cell for the meter here. Big advantage of this, of course, is if you put filters on, you don't need to compensate, it does that automatically. So if you put coloured filters on, like a yellow or an orange, if you're shooting black and white, it's automatically compensated for. This is the rangefinder window, and this is the viewfinder window on this side. But yeah, beautiful little camera, very well made. Very light, great sort of slip it in your pocket and walk about camera. Right, let's see if we can put some film in this. It should sit on its nose. Put the lens cap back on. Don't want to scratch anything. Roll of 35mm film. If you're a regular, you know what 35mm film looks like. If you're a newbie, then A, welcome to the channel, and B, this is a roll of 35mm film. The little stubby bit goes at the bottom, and this is called the leader. This comes across, and then you feed that into these sprockets over here, and then what will happen as you wind on, you'll see that this will move, and it will grab the film, and it will start pulling the film across. And what I do is I rewind this to take up any slack, and then this will wind. Once I get the second sprocket holes lined up, that's when I close the back up, wind on, and you can see on the frame counter there, it has the indication. Once more. So that would be our first exposure. And we know the film's moving through the camera because this part here is moving. So you just set your ASA or your ISO. As I said, this is a 200 film, so you would set that to 200, and away you go. Take your pictures until you've taken your 20 or 36. When you get to the end of the film, little button on the bottom here that you push. On this camera it stays in. Fold out this crank, and then you can rewind the film back into the canister. As you take the pictures, they're going over to the film as being pulled over onto this side. You can see there is this indicator here. I think it shows you how far you are through the film, actually. Quite clever. Yeah. Shows you how far into the film that you are. Got the cap on. The shutter doesn't work anyway, so not a problem. But yeah, there's an indicator here as well. You can see we're up to number 8 on there now. But yeah, once you push this little button in, when you wind on it, will pop back out again on its own. But push this button in, and then you can rewind the film, and you'll feel the tension. And all you're doing here is putting the film back into the light-proof canister. You heard it there. That tells me that it's come off of that spool, the take-up spool. So there you still have the leader out. If you do your own processing, this is the way I like to do it, is to leave this out, because it's a lot easier to load into a spiral. If you're sending it to a lab, you can just wind it the whole way in. But this is an unused film, so I don't really want to wind it all the way in. These markings here are for a thing called DX coding, but this camera doesn't have it. It's a way on some of the later cameras that it can tell the film speed by these sort of printed patterns on the cassette here. But for this camera, you don't need to worry about that. You have to set everything manually. It's from 1972, so it's a pretty old camera. You can see inside it's very simple. There's a little warning light that will come on in the viewfinder if it's going to select a shutter speed of a 30th of a second or slower. That's just to warn you about camera shake, and really telling you to be using a flash when you come down to those sort of speeds. And the flash sync for this camera is, I think, a 20th of a second. I'm not sure how you would set that on this. I don't know whether it sets it automatically, but I'll turn that on, and you'll see that that little button has popped back out again. So this is now moving the film that way through the camera. This is threaded for a cable release. There's no self-timer on this version. I think there was on the E version. To focus, there's one of these little things down here. It's a very short throw actually. So this is focused. The camera's going to focus. That's infinity, and that is the closest, which 0.8 of a meter, or 2.6 feet approximately. There's no depth of field scale or anything on there, so it's a very, very simple camera. Great fun. Just load it with film and some batteries, stick it in your pocket, and away you go. High quality, capable of producing really great results. And yeah, that's the camera for today, folks. The Minolta HI-MATIC F. Gorgeous camera, I think, really, really beautiful. It's a shame this one doesn't work, but we will get it working. Because it's a non-runner, I identify my non-runners, so I know which ones I got to repair. This one gets a yellow sticker on it, so it's a non-runner. But yeah, beautiful little camera, and yeah, we will have a go at repairing it, and we'll see we can get it working. It's not normally too much of an issue. It's usually battery corrosion that stops the power from getting into the bits that need the power. But yeah, very nice Seiko shutter, made in Japan, 1972. Highly recommended if you can get a good one that's working. Even if you can get it cheap enough, one that isn't working, because they're beautiful things to have on the shelf. But cameras really should be used. Anyway, that's the video for today. Thank you very much for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Comments, questions, queries, etc. in the comments. In fact, anything you'd like to add in the comments. And don't forget to like and subscribe and all that usual sort of good stuff. I look forward to seeing you in the next one.